All right, we are going to start Sunday school this morning with Kane offering prayer.
Dear God, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for the beautiful weather. Be with people that are traveling, and be with the sick people, and just
Thank you both for choosing to be here today. We are going to study a little bit differently. I made up this sheet of paper. Want each of you take one. And can you grab pencils from that? Put your name on the top, please. The date is the 15th. 16th. I'll take one too. I'll do it. So we're gonna keep these, and I think we're gonna start studying this way because it gives us a little bit more direction, and we're going to dive a little deeper on this. Put your name on it, please, and the date. So 6/16. And we're going to do a few different passages, so we can just list them on here. We don't need to do a separate page for each one. But this would be good, like if you're going through Psalm 23 or something like that. You could put the passage, Psalm 23, and kind of go through. It would be a longer time probably than you could get through in depth in an hour or half hour in this case. And I'm going to have you kind of keep an eye on the time too. So you said a prayer to begin our class, but David, I'm going to have you say a prayer for insight. And what does that mean?
Insight.
What does that mean? Do you know?
I'm not really sure the definition of insight.
Well, what do you think it is?
Like, knowing what's gonna happen.
Okay. Yes. Asking for knowledge in understanding. Insight is a sight into more in depth what it is. So it could be a prayer that we would like the Holy Spirit to fill us so we have an understanding. So it's, neither of you were here at the beginning of the rummage sale, right? No. Well, at the beginning, the boys that were here, so it'd be Jordan, Owen, and Mason. We all sat down and we set an intention of what do we want to happen through this time. That's kind of what this is too. We want an intention that we will understand it more in depth, more thoroughly. So, David, I would like you to say that prayer and say it specific to this, not like thank you for the food, thank you for the shelter kind of thing, but more really specific to this. Please give us insight to understand your word. Fill us with your Holy Spirit so we have an understanding, that kind of thing. You could say exactly what I just said. Okay?
Dear God, please fill us with insight and understanding. Please help us be wise and be smart in what we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Perfect. Check. We did it. Okay. So we don't have a passage per se, but I have about 5. Let me see that over there. Yep. We have 5 different points, and for each point we're going to have a verse. So it's really not, we have 5 verses on my sheet.
Oh, on that. Okay.
I knew you were like, where? I don't see them. So we're going to go through each of those 5, and we'll write the 5 up here. And all of those actually could be a memorization piece. Because we really, as I was going through this last night, I thought, I wonder how many of us, myself included, sits down and studies really in depth, like one verse. One verse. Do any of us do that right now? Do any of us even read a verse a day?
I read a few a week.
Okay.
I just grab my telephone too.
So think about that. When the amount of time, and I'm saying this to myself too, the amount of time we spend on biblical matters versus what we spend on worldly matters. And yes, we have to have our job, and yes, we have to do this and that and the other thing. But it's really interesting when you start overflowing God into your life. It was funny because there's a little side story. So I was having a massage on Wednesday, and sometimes I'm silent the whole time. That day I was chatty the entire time. 2 hours. So I know this guy pretty well. He's been my massage therapist for a long time. He also massages mom, so he knows her. I don't know what they talk about or if they do. But he's like, oh, so what do you have going on this summer? And I told him we have a couple of camps coming up, and I'm moving, and you know all these things. It's really busy till mid-August. And he said, does your mom go with you? Does she do the church stuff with you guys? And I'm like, yeah, we do. And he said, you know, it's really unusual to hear about families doing church things together. He said it's really, really rare, actually. And I thought, yeah, it is. But that's just what I do, you know? So it was interesting. You need to get forward a little bit because you're in here too. So anyway, for somebody that I was talking to, and I wasn't even trying to bring that up, but I was like, these things are coming up, and he was impressed that we do these things together as a family. You see things. I was actually out to see a band a few weeks ago, and it was at a bar, but I was having hot tea actually.
They have hot tea at a bar?
They do. Sometimes they get confused.
Oh.
They're like, we don't have that. I'm like, yes you do. I had it last time. Oh, I guess we do. So anyway, we were there, and I saw a family that had been eating together, and I kind of overheard them talking a little bit. And they were actually all decked out in like Harley Davidson stuff. They looked like biker people. Because we were at the Chrome Horse, which is a biker bar, basically. But they got done, and before they left, they all stood in a circle in the middle of a bar and prayed.
What?
And I was like, that is something you rarely see, and it was actually pretty cool to see it.
How many people were doing it?
There were probably 6 or 7. I mean, it was a significant thing to me that was happening. But anyway, what I'm saying is these things shouldn't be separate. It shouldn't be like, well, I'm going to church. My grandma's making me learn stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then separately, well, I go to school, I go to work, I do all this other stuff. It shouldn't be a separate thing. God should always be in all parts of our lives, right?
Uh-huh.
So, anyway, we're going to start going through this and just go through this. 9:37. Cool. Okay. So, we first are going to meditate. The word meditation, that is one kind of meditation. And I actually do that.
I know you do.
But this is a different kind. And some people think that, meditation, it's like a crazy, weird, woo-woo, new age word. Well, it's not. It means to think about. So, first of all, we're going to go to James 1:5. We all need to create silence in our minds.
Wait, why do I answer with that?
You know, why don't we just write them all at the bottom for memorization? So we're going to put James 1:5. But we all have to quiet our minds, and everything is so busy and so fast, and we have our days packed with everything, and then we come home and we sit in front of a TV or a video game and fill it with more crap.
I just fall asleep.
And that's fine. That kind of resets your mind. But it's important to just be able to hear your thoughts too. So James 1:5. Did you turn to it yet? It's the end. It's after Hebrews.
That's right. Oh, it's after.
Mm-hmm. Right after Hebrews.
Okay.
So the point in this one, I'm going to tell you the thought first. I want you to visualize what I'm saying when I read this. Well, I'm not reading the verse yet, so sorry.
Close it.
I'm giving you 5 points of things that you guys should remember in your lives. And practical application is important, I believe. Do you know what that means, David?
Yeah.
What?
Apply it in situation, practical situation.
Yeah, you're not really supposed to use the same word to define it, but yes, you're right. The first thing is you don't have to figure out everything yourself. And you guys are coming to a point in your lives where you want to be independent.
No,
Am
I don't.
I'm right.
I don't want
You don't want to.
Independence scary.
You don't want to be independent and
Not
say,
you.
"I'm going to go out to the movies, and I want you to be with me." And
Okay, but
That's
that's stealthy.
called
Yeah.
that's being independent.
But I mean, like, moving out, no, not yet.
Okay, but that I agree. But you are pushing for more and more independence. Like, I don't want my parents to go with me in the movies with my friends. You know, that kind of independence. But I get what you mean. You mean financial independence.
Yeah, financial no.
Sure. Okay, so one thing is you don't have to figure out everything for yourself. Who should you rely on first?
God.
Yes. He shouldn't be an afterthought like the last resort. He should be the first communication you have. And I don't always think of that readily, and I should more. But God's there all the time, no matter if you remember that or not, or if you utilize that. So He's only a prayer away. He wants to help guide your decisions. How much easier do you think life would be if you were making a decision, even if it's not a big decision, like, or I want to do well on this test. How much easier do you think life would be if we just sat for a minute, asked God to guide us, asked God to help us?
I did this year. I think it was this semester I did that.
I asked God to help
Once or
me with
every-
my test.
It was like 3 tests because I thought it was gonna be that one.
Because I
Did
was
you
like
feel more
brain dead.
calm when you did that?
Mhm.
Because I got like brain dead and I couldn't think at all.
So it was your last resort, or it
No, it
was the
wasn't my
first
last
thing you thought of?
result. I didn't even think about the test until like a few weeks before it.
That's a long time.
Yeah, but
Well, that's good that you guys are
wasn't my
doing
last
that.
resort.
That is,
I didn't fail it. I got C's on
well, you're average then. So
that. I'm fine with that.
I'm gonna read this verse in the NIV, in the New English Version. That's not what NIV stands for. Anyway, I'm gonna read it, picture it, visualize it, close your eyes for a second. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Okay, that's James 5. So when you're doing that, actively engage your mind. Don't go into your nothing box, David. So I want you both to read that out loud, and then Kane, we're going to do the pronunciation thing with both of you doing this. I want you to emphasize what words you think are important. Like say them louder, more with more emphasis. Okay? Read it out loud.
Oh, me? I thought, okay. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him
Make
ask.
it really obvious.
If
loud.
any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all. How do you say that word? Liberally. Liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him.
Okay, so you just emphasize wisdom.
Yes.
I want you to emphasize some other words just to mix it up a little bit. So reread it too. Emphasize it loudly when you're gonna emphasize a word.
If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that give it to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, it shall be given him.
It was interesting when you said yours and you emphasized lack. That that really stood out to me because we don't want to be in that state of lack, do we? So if we lack that, we are given that. If we ask. That's what the centerpiece is. That's what the cause is. The effect is we get what we're given. Okay? What else? Kane, tell me that in your own words.
Paraphrase it. Good.
You don't have to say the entire
I
verse.
know.
Just a.
If anyone, people who don't have knowledge, just ask God and He will give it to you.
Okay. I want you to paraphrase it.
Which verse?
Or help you out.
1:5. The same one that you just read.
If you have no wisdom, ask God for wisdom, and He'll give it to you.
That's all you need to say.
Yeah.
And you could have even stopped at before you said that little last chunk. Just as a FYI what we're doing. So personalize it. I'm gonna do this for both of you.
Oh no.
If Cain and David lack wisdom, let Cain and David ask God for it. Because God will give it to Cain and David liberally. Do you know what liberally means?
No.
In abundance. He'll give
Yeah.
you lots of it.
Gotcha.
I don't really know what abradeth means. It's whose hands are those? What's your picture of?
No one's. Without. I have reproach.
Is that no one's?
There's no one.
Okay.
Why-
And it will be given to Cain and David. Okay? That's how you personalize it. Does it sound different if your names are in it?
Yeah.
So, let's say a really quick prayer, and each of you do this and turn it into a prayer. Okay? You first.
Wait.
It can be short.
Use like the verse to.
Yes,
Okay.
but it can be super short. But yes, do that.
Dear God, please help me bring forth knowledge to situations better and help me understand them and discern them.
Okay. David?
Dear God, if I lack wisdom, please help me gain wisdom to be a smarter person. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'll say one too. Dear Heavenly Father, please give me an abundance of wisdom so I can accomplish things to your will, and give me abundance of wisdom in areas I didn't even know I needed it. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay? So we prayed it. We did all that. We're not going to write anything down on that for right now, but okay, so we go through all these. I don't know why it's space pets, but that's just what it was. It's kind of funny. So in this, is there a sin to confess?
No. Oh, wait. Wisdom lacking.
Yeah, we lack wisdom. Is there a promise to keep?
Yeah, God was promising that or James, or whoever, someone's promising that God will give them wisdom if they ask for it.
Okay, that's good. Did you have anything to add to that?
No.
I could say that our asking of God should be a promise. That's a promise that we do that. What about attitude to change?
Be more understanding.
If you were not asking before and you ask now, that's a change.
Or that.
That's an action that you're doing. What about the command to keep? Is there a command to keep? It's not exactly a command, but it's definitely It's that second section of the.
Who gives to all liberally and without reproach?
Let him ask of God.
Oh.
It doesn't say I command you to ask of God. Let you. You have a choice, but it should be a command as a Christian person, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about an example to follow?
Follow God's ways.
Yes, and if you see others asking, this could be an example to be. We could be an example to other people. What about a prayer to pray? David.
You have to pray and ask for wisdom. I guess, yeah.
So, the prayer to pray, didn't you just pray a prayer?
Yeah.
Boom. What about an error to avoid?
Never lack wisdom, and always pray to God. Yes.
Yep, an error to avoid is be setting yourself too far apart from God, too. A truth to believe. Do you believe the truth that if you ask, God will give it to you in abundance, this wisdom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there something to thank God for, David?
Yeah, you should thank him for giving you wisdom when you ask for it, if you believe in it.
Yes. You can even, do you think you should thank God before you even get it?
You could.
Wait, how would you thank God before you get it, though?
Thank you for giving me an abundance of wisdom.
Oh.
Do you think you should do it that way or wait till you get it?
Yeah, I do it before.
You should absolutely do it before. Because that sets your mind up to know that it's going to happen. So those are all things we could write down. We haven't been doing that today, that's fine. So that's the first one. Does it seem like it's a lot to go through all of that just for one verse?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But did we have different answers for each of the things? So did it maybe make you think of some different ideas as opposed to just reading the verse and moving on to the next verse?
Yeah.
It was definitely more thought-provoking, wasn't it? Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. We are going to run out of time, but I want you to write down, I'm going to write down a couple of verses. We won't go through all of them like this, but I would like for you guys assignment for next time, and I'll give you 2 sheets of paper for your siblings.
Oh, okay.
Because we're not going to get through all these, but there are only 5 verses. I think we have time for 1 more, so that gives you 3 to go over at home going through this. Do you think you can do that? Yes is the right answer. Okay. So write down Proverbs 4:23 and kind of write behind it, protect your heart from unworthy people. So that's 1, and then write down Exodus 14:14. Try to decide. We'll do the last one. That one is let God fight your battles. And that's kind of related to like gossip and rumors and things like that. Maybe I'll have each of you take a photo of this so you know the background of each one of them. Write down 1 Peter 1:7. And that is, you don't need to carry your burdens alone. And then last, we'll try to get through this one. We only have about 6 minutes. But if we don't get this one done, I want you to finish this one at home too. Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. So I'm going to read this to you. I should put trust Jesus to direct your path. But these are all things you can write little notes about in these sections, okay? Meditation and application. So this is a little bit related to the first one that we did, isn't it? You don't have to figure out everything by yourself. Trust Jesus to direct your path. Trust Jesus and God. And you guys said you've prayed to God in the past. That is excellent. So you're trusting that your path will open up if you let God and Jesus in. So go ahead and close your eyes and I'm going to read this. So visualize, think about these things. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do and He will show you which path to take. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Okay.
I'm trying to find my purple notebook for you.
I'm recording. So we don't really. I'm not gonna have you guys both go through and pronounce different ones, but look through that really quickly and see what words you would probably emphasize. And it's Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. Sorry, I didn't reach your turn there. Okay. What words might you pronounce and really emphasize in that scenario?
Trust.
Lord, heart, acknowledge Him, and path.
It might be good to say, do not depend on your own understanding, or whatever yours says.
Oh, why
in
is this
that.
lean out?
So something like that. Lean not. It was like him emphasizing lack in that other one. So go through the verse and emphasize words differently each time and you will hear something different. Okay? Paraphrase that, Kane, real quick.
Always trust in God and don't always trust your own understanding because what did I say? Trust in God always and don't always go in your own understanding and because He will direct your path. He'll
Okay.
help you guide you right.
Okay. David, quickly, paraphrase.
Trust in the Lord and don't not yourself really as much.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're fallible. We make stupid decisions sometimes. A lot of
Acknowledge
times.
that the Lord is helping you and He shall direct you.
Yeah, I like your point, and it's not necessarily in there, but acknowledge that He does that because that's important. Is that in yours?
Yeah.
It might be. Never mind. It's not in mine, but I like that word because you're putting that onto Him, saying, "Yes, you did this for me." And then we've learned how to pray that. So I want you guys just to go through the rest of these, even reviewing that last one, because it doesn't take that much time. I wanted to kind of explain to you what these were, and that took up a little bit of time at the beginning. But I'm going to give you 2, and I'll show your mom what that is, and then I will tell your parent, your mothers. Can you take a snapshot of that in the back, just so you have that to take with you? Huh?
Should I take a
That's a
picture?
snapshot from Progressive.
Then you have all the information behind it, because it's interesting to read about that.
Is my flash on? I think I read it. Oh, it's not. Okay.
All right, so good job. I'm going to turn this off now. Whoa.